Happy Election Day and welcome to PAC News. I'm Liam Kidd.
And I'm Erin Haynes.
Today we have coverage of everything from election updates to feral cats around Uptown. Thank you for tuning in.
Let's go straight into a live look at Lusher Elementary in the Uptown neighborhood where voting lines have cleared. This year, Louisiana has shattered records for the number of early votes cast. There has nearly been 1 million people to cast an early ballot. That number almost doubles the number of early votes cast in the 2016 election.
And if you still need to get out and cast your ballot, the New Orleans Regional Transit Authority is waiving all fares for RTA transit in observation of Election Day. All streetcars and buses are running on Saturday schedules due to COVID-19 restrictions, and there are some route detours due to Hurricane Zeta.
Hurricane Zeta was a fast-moving storm last week, but it left long-lasting damage for a number of citizens in the New Orleans area. I talked to a few folks who share their experience.
Hurricane Zeta sawed through New Orleans on the evening of October 28th. Citizens wake up early Thursday morning to carve away at leftover debris and damage. Chad Bro says the storm left life-altering results.
Sister's boyfriend, they had a tree that fell in their house because of the wind. An old oak tree that fell straight in the middle of the house.
Loyola advertising student Caitlin Reiskin shares the aftermath of Zeta on a TikTok video. Emily Barbaro, Reiskin's younger sister,
that was really scary because they're old elderly people and
says the residents of Metairie Manor have shattered car windows from high winds. This is Reiskin's and Barbaro's empty fridge.
Food that they have, so they don't want to waste their food. So they threw out their food. My mom threw out her food.
Reiskin says her family regained power Saturday evening, over 72 hours post Zeta.
There was the next one because we already know how the experience went. So I think more people would do more stuff to prevent other things from happening.
Erin Haynes, the Loyola Maroon.
Reporter Jaime Jimenez talks with Loyola political science professor about young voters.
It's Election Day, and college students across the nation are making their ways to polls and sending in ballots, but how much of their vote matters? Department of Political Science professor Dr. Sean Kane explains why the college-age vote is crucial for this election.
If a candidate can effectively mobilize young voters, it's a path to victory. So the question is, will there be a surge in turnout amongst young people? And will it have the same impact that it's had in the past, such as in 2008, the young vote helped Barack Obama win?
And if you haven't voted today, go out and vote. I'm Jaime Jimenez with PAC News.
Early voting took place last week at the Smoothie King Center from October 16th to 27th, with reports of unprecedented voter turnout for the city of New Orleans. The center located downtown New Orleans hosted the year's early voting for New Orleanians. The move comes after the City of New Orleans Council requested the space be used to avoid overcrowding during the pandemic on Election Day. Louisiana reported over 977,000 votes on the 10th day, early voting period with more than 99,000 of those votes being in New Orleans Parish. Voters were socially distant and offered Germ-X while wiping down all machines after each use. Lines were also reportedly not nearly as long as other polling places have seen. Early voting may be over, but Election Day is today, so make sure you go out and vote.
Meanwhile, in Puerto Rico, elections are also being held today. But besides casting their ballots, the island's residents are also answering important questions. Statehood, yes or no?
That is right. Today, Puerto Rico is having its 6th non-binding referendum regarding the island's political status. But this time, the question has been simplified to just statehood, yes or no. Statehood would mean Puerto Rico would get 2 U.S. senators and an estimated 5 seats in the House of Representatives. Right now, Puerto Rico only has 1 non-voting member in Congress, known as the resident commissioner. Sayira Jordan Conde, the Citizens Victory Movement candidate for resident commissioner, tells us her reasons why statehood for Puerto Rico.
I want all Puerto Ricans to have the same quality of life, the same great education that my children had in Iowa. I want Puerto Ricans all Puerto Ricans to have the same opportunities that I had as a single mother of 5 that I had in Iowa, but have them in Puerto Rico. Why would we need to leave Puerto Rico and go somewhere else in the mainland when Puerto Rico has so much to offer to the rest of the states, and Puerto Ricans can remain in the island and contribute to the United States culture, economy, politics, and so on and so forth.
The State Election Commission is expected to offer preliminary results at 10 p.m. tonight.
Moving back to Louisiana, New Orleans residents have noticed an uptick in politically motivated graffiti and public art ahead of the election. Peter Buffo has the story.
Graffiti might typically be associated with resistance, but a local graffiti artist who goes by Pastor says,
I definitely still think there's a purpose in voting. Even if it only goes to electoral college vote and numbers don't necessarily matter, it is good to vote because it shows who's voting for what and what we want to do as a people.
Megan Burns started taking photos of graffiti during the pandemic because she had more time on her hands. She's noticed an uptick in politically motivated graffiti as well.
I've seen some temporary graffiti just in the last few days, according to the amendments, like some chalk graffiti and stuff like that, but I haven't seen a lot of painting.
Megan says she voted. Pastor, on the other hand, is trying.
I have been moving around the country a lot recently.
Capitalism is a Virus is a public art piece by an unnamed artist that's been up on St. Claude and Frenchman for some time now. There's another one at the abandoned naval base at 4400 Domain Street. This is Peter Buffo, PAC News.
After the break, we'll show you how child sex abuse survivors are demanding accountability from local church leaders.
When we come back, have you ever wondered why hand sanitizer being produced these days smells different? We have one answer coming up after the break.
And stay tuned to find out what you can do to help the feral cat situation around Uptown. And just a reminder that it is Election Day. Here's another look at St. Rita's Catholic School.
Back to you, Lester.
Thanks, Taylor. And in our final story of the night, The Maroon has been ranked as one of the top student newspapers in the nation by the Princeton Review.
Earlier this month, demonstrators at Notre Dame Seminary called for answers and action from the Archdiocese of New Orleans over what they say have been decades of child sex abuse perpetrated by clergy members. Shadira Moore tells us what the organizers had to say.
According to Kevin Bourgeois, he plans to keep Survivors Network of those abused by priests, New Orleans chapter going long after they've packed up their signs. Their message?
We want people to get help. We want people to feel like we care about them and are here to walk with them. Our Archbishop says that he walks with us, but he doesn't, absolutely.
John Anderson says he doesn't work for a dime with SNAP. His return on the investment of his time is showing fellow survivors that they're not alone.
They're going to suffer, from anxiety, depression, which leads to suicide. Okay, this is what we do as SNAP. We help these people.
Anderson says that SNAP's mission is far from over.
People have learned and people have adjusted, but you know what? What happened with us still remains a mystery, and that's why we need all the archives exposed. We need to know everything that happened, period. Yeah?
This is Shadira Moore for PAC News.
According to SNAP's website, New Orleans-based support groups for victims of child sex abuse in the church meet on a third Saturday of each month.
And in lighter news, Halloween may have looked a little different this year, but City Park put on a special event to make sure kids wouldn't miss out on their trick-or-treating. Brianna Lasser has more.
Here at City Park, where hundreds of families have lined up in their cars to partake in City Park's first annual Candy Cruise.
Last week, hundreds of moms, dads, and grandparents sat in their cars with their children to make sure that their kids wouldn't miss out on Halloween this year. The line stretched for miles around City Park as families sat in their cars for hours in hopes of collecting a sweet treat. Angela Harbor and her grandson got out of their car to stretch their legs after sitting for so long.
Been here about an hour and a half in the same place. I need to be stretched out and use the restroom.
Fox 8 News and City Park partnered together to put on the event, and with help from volunteers from New Orleans Police Department, Monterey Haunted Mansions, Jefferson Parish Police Department, local radio stations, and more, they were able to put on an event for the whole family to enjoy. Marville Gaspard Baker with Orleans Parish Sheriff's Office says this is her first time participating in an event like this, but she enjoyed it.
My favorite part of the event is watching all the kids' smiles on their faces, just because some of them can't enjoy Halloween because of COVID, and I really enjoy seeing all of the kids and the families passing by.
This is Brianna Lasser with PAC News.
Thanks, Brianna. Looks like people tried to make the best out of the situation.
Sticky sanitizer makes its way across campus to ensure students can disinfect their hands on the go. But have you ever wondered why some sanitizer has a different odor or texture than others? Plant ecologist Mark Tobler explains why sanitizer from distilleries have a different process than big-name manufacturers.
So oftentimes, all of the commercial hand sanitizers will have glycerin and maybe aloe gel mixed in as well that help retain the moisture in your hands when you're using it. And so if you are in a hospital setting, for example, where you're using hand sanitizer dozens and dozens of times a day, if it didn't have any of that, you would have very raw hands.
Yep. Loyola University received a donation from the Porch Jam Distillery earlier this semester. Loyola continues to enforce social distancing, wearing masks on campus, and using the Campus Clear app.
And in case you haven't noticed them, Gracie Weiss will be talking about feral cats that roam the streets of New Orleans.
Dozens and dozens of feral cats are scattered throughout the New Orleans area, and some of them have retreated at Loyola and Tulane's campuses. Students, faculty, staff, and visitors can see them under the buildings, under the bushes, on the streets, and on the ledges. The Louisiana Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals says that while feral cats are usually harmless and help reduce the number of pests, they can be a nuisance for some people. The best way to deal with them is to catch them, neuter them, and return them to their homes. Anyone who needs help catching one can rent a trap from SPCA and contact the community clinic to make a neutering appointment.
Thanks, Gracie. We'll have to be on the lookout for those cats.
And that is all we have for today. Thank you for watching and have a great day.